Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Random Crafty Acts, or welcome to Random Crafty Acts. If you haven't ever been here before, my name is Barb. I haven't really been feeling it here lately, but I have some things I really need to get done, and I really need to get back into the card making. So what I'm looking at today is some cards that Christy Marott did. She's one of the people I follow, and she was working with one of the new Paper Rose collections, which I can't buy because I'm still on a no buy like a good person. So I went into my stash and I pulled out these sunflower pages, and they have big flowers on one side and kind of plain on the other. This particular set piece seems to go well with blue. That's kind of bland, so at some point I'll pause the video and see if I can find some of the elusive green. This is kind of a hard yellow to match, so I often end up with black with those. That looks like a green, but the advantage I've got is that while I've got the flower on one side, I've got this on the other side that I can actually use for the background. And that is the case with all of these pages. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing. Let me grab my cutter. So as I'm trying to get set up here, one of the things that's going on is the organization that I've always donated to has discontinued the donation part that I always did. So I donated under their to Operation Gratitude under what was called Handmade with Love. And while it was, in fact, a rather patriotic kind of organization because everything went to the military, to the deployed service people and first responders and all that kind of thing, to be very, very honest, the reason I donated there is because it was easy. Okay, they took my cards. They took all different kinds of cards. I don't like to decorate the inside of a card, and they wanted them blank. I don't like to use glitter, so they didn't allow any glitter at all. They also took crocheted items, which was the other thing I did. And it's not that I don't have someplace that I can donate. I do. I can go to scrapbook.com. They run a very similar program. They're kind of a hub. I have to sort my cards a little differently than what I've been sorting them. They'll still take the ones that are blank in the center. They work with simple sentiments, and then they ship them out to all kinds of organizations, whether they're for cancer or seniors or some other military organizations. So I have an outlet. It's just different, and sometimes we feel like going through changes, and sometimes we don't. And this is one of those times. Okay, so I'm going to force myself back into it today. So if this is a little sloppy, then you have my apologies. All right. Here's what I like about Christy Marott. And I will put a link below. She does videos, okay? And she also has a web page that she kind of calls a blog. And that's where I copied this from. And so we'll see that she's got a new video up because I've got her saved under one of my subscriptions over on YouTube. And I'll watch her video. I watch her work. And then I go over to her blog. And she works with sketches that you can get. Usually you can find them on Pinterest. Some of these sites, like the cards, CARDZTV, blogspot.com, that actually exists. I like the sketches where the measurements are written in since I am not very good at the math thing. I like watching to see how she puts them together. So I copied and pasted onto a sheet the pictures of what the cards could look like, okay? And then the different sketches that she worked with. So I'm just going to take whatever one looks like it's going to be the easiest for me to work with, which is probably this one to start with. And I'm gonna make a card, and we'll see how it comes out. Her explanation is really good, so she's someone that's good to follow. I have seen her on these videos make as many as 30 cards, and she speeds up the making part and plays music in the background. But again, it's always available on the blog site. And always remember, if you're watching a video and you're trying to figure out how to do something, you can stop it and back it up and watch it again. Okay, so let's start with this first one up here. And I think we're going to start with this blue because I'm kind of feeling that. All right. And there's some really light stuff in the background that I started to do this way, and it would have been upside down. Okay, so when I look at that card, okay, and that matches up with these, and I'm sorry that that's so small, but you can look it up if you really feel like you need to. So we've got the card base, which I'm going to do mine this way. She's using a top fold. Okay, and then a layer. She's got a red layer and then a checkered layer. So I'm going to use the blue layer. I'll cut this to be, the mat will be 3.5 by 4 3/4. Okay, and then there'll be a piece in the background. I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet. I'm going to make the focal point out of this here. So maybe I'll use this for the checkered, where she's got the checkered. And we'll put that in blue. And then we'll see what we're feeling about that piece in the back. Okay? All right, so let's start cutting. All right, so I'm going to start with the focal point, and I've got a couple of sheets in case I mess up. All right, so I'm going to start with the focal point, and the focal point goes on a, she says border 2 1/4 by 3.5, mat 2 by 3.5, circle 1. Okay, let's start with this. All right, so this is 4 3/4. Maybe if I get a couple of pictures in front of me, I can make more sense out of this. 4 3/4 by 3.5. Okay. All right. Quarters by 3.5. So then this would be, there's not really a measurement for that. I would make that 3. I would make this 4. 4 1/4 by 5.5. That's the whole card. So I would make this 4. So if this mat is 3.5, then you come in 1/4, so 3 1/4. And then 4 3/4 is the outside, so you come in 1/4, so that's 4.5. Okay. Let's slide this over here. Okay. Right, and then we make this 4 by 5 1/4. That creates the background that to me looks like the checkered background she's got. Okay, not bad. And then, since I'm feeling layery, I'm going to make this that 5 3/8 that I put on the outside. She's actually the person that I learned that from. We'll see how this card looks. I want you to know that usually I do this not on camera. I'm making myself do it on camera today to kind of get back in the swing of it. Okay. And then that doesn't work there. So maybe we just won't put that piece that she's got along the back. Maybe we'll just put this here. Oh, I kind of like that. Okay. All right, so then we make the card base decision, and I'm just going to go with white. There's just enough white, and that's not really cream. Let me check that other. Oh, I do kind of like that. It kind of brings out the tone there. So let's do that. Like I said, normally I have done all this fiddling around before I even start the video, but this is helping me push myself through the process. Okay, all right, so now, even though what she uses in this, they use like a circle and a strip, I can see myself putting like a thinking of you. I'm gonna grab one. I'm not gonna put it on right now because I want to double check to see what scrapbook.com is taking. Okay, so I can put a thinking of you there. I can put a circle up here. I think that's kind of overbearing. So I think we'll end up going with this. Okay, so let's just do that because I know they take thinking of you cards. So we'll do that. It kind of brings out the color. And that's a nice little card. Okay? All right, so now I have this piece, and we'll start to get into the how are we going to keep from creating too many scraps. All right, let's see what size this is. This is 4 3/8. That's 5 3/8. So if I make this 4 1/8. All right, then I have another card. Okay, and I did that with 4. Let's see if we can use this. That's 2 3/4. So the mat would be 3. Okay. And then here the mat is you can really just kind of eyeball how big you want it to be. That's 4 1/2. Make it 4 1/4. I'm doing it this way because I can cut it down at that point to see if it feels like it's too big and say, no, that feels like that's the right size. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on here so that, just to point out, we could also actually use that side, but we're going to go ahead and use this side. I think I've got some sunflowers someplace that I might be able to put on there. Okay, and then we're going to flip this over and do a 4 by 5 1/4. And that will act as the background. If you have had the pleasure of watching me fight my way through long, huge piles of scraps, this is, I'm actually, I'm the whole time I'm doing this, I'm thinking, oh great, now I've got more scraps I have to deal with. But that's okay. It's pretty paper, and I don't intend to stop making cards. And that was a talk I had to sit down and have with myself was, there are lots of places out there to donate. Jess Craft, for example, and I'll put a link to her below as well. On her webpage, she has a whole list of places you can donate. I do not remember if I had one of those cards out. I do not remember if Christy Marott has that information on her page. I know she talks a lot about donating to her to the nursing homes where she lives. And I'll be very honest. I did not look locally 4 years ago or 5 years ago when I started really getting into card making. And it's because I didn't know how long I was going to want to do this. I didn't want to have to walk in somewhere and say, I'm really sorry, I'm not doing cards anymore. And then let's try... There's something in my hellos. That's just a note to say hello. Like that's one of the things I'm going to have to do. Sending you a hug. Go ahead and do another thinking of you, just to just until we can get realigned. I have a lot of tags up there for just a note, because the cards that were going out before were going out so that the deployed service person could write in them to write home, and these cards will have a different purpose. Okay, so we have this left over. I can see me putting this on a piece of dark cardstock in the center like this, maybe doing a circle over here, maybe not that color circle. Okay, if that's the case, then I could make 2 of those. We could also do this. Maybe, and maybe not. Okay, so I can think of a couple things that I can probably do with that. So I'm going to set those up there. Okay, I'm going to list Christy Marott below. I think that she's, as I said, she's one of the people that I have followed for a long time. I really like her style. I've done a couple of workshops that she was involved in. So I would suggest that you check her out. Also, because her site's been really good about connecting me to like Operation Right Home and Freshly Made Sketches, Cards TV, and My Favorite Things, which are different sites where you can get card sketches. And then sometimes it's nice to watch someone actually put one of the cards together and get an idea of how you would like that to look. Okay, so that's I don't have no idea how long this has been, but I feel like I've really been dragging my feet. So we're going to call this one good. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would do that. My objective is to get simple card making videos and instructions out to other people who want to make cards. And I love the idea that we make cards and then we donate them. And by donating them, we're spreading joy. And we're, you know how wonderful it feels to actually get something in the mail. And so sending these out to like senior groups and all of that, I can't do enough of that individually on my own. So I am always looking for the organizations that have the volunteers that pull the heavy weight, that make sure that things get into boxes and then they get sent to different places. So that's what I'm looking for. And so I would really appreciate, oh, and I almost forgot. So anyway, if you would subscribe, this has been a really sloppy video. If you would please subscribe to my channel, it doesn't cost you anything. You won't start getting emails. It just helps push this out to using the algorithm, Random Acts of Kindness Studios, the wonderful stamp that my granddaughter designed and provided me with when I very first started doing this. I put this on the back of my cards. A lot of people put their names on the back of the cards. I don't. It's not about who I am. Okay, all right. And these will go in the box. I have a box over there that has 42 cards in it that are these kinds of cards. And so I'll be sorting that over the next 24 hours. And my goal is to take a deep breath and put another box in the mail. All right, thank you very much for sitting with me while I start to work my way through this.